Coming up on this episode of the Hitstreak.
The moment that, a job or something gets in the way of us being able to do what we need to do as a family, then I'll gladly move on from that and move in a different direction to make sure the family's in a good spot.
Here is how Dr. Aaron Pryor changed my life. I used to hide my smile, covering my mouth in photos, holding back in conversations, even avoiding big moments. I didn't realize how much it was holding me back until I got my brand new veneers at Pryor Family Dentistry. It's not just my teeth. It's my confidence, my energy, my entire life. Visit PryorFamilyDentistry.com to book a consultation. Your life-changing smile awaits. Whoa. Check this out. Some of the world's biggest success stories started with nothing. Just grit, hustle, and a story worth hearing. If you've got a story that people need to hear, this is your shot. If you've been through the fire and came out stronger, you belong on this show. Email management@nickhyder.com or comment or DM the word Hitstreak to apply. The Hitstreak is where rags to riches stories have been told, and the next one could be yours. Blessings, folks. Welcome back to another episode of the Hitstreak. I am your man, Nick Hyder. And folks, we're just going to get right into it today. He is a husband. He's a father. He is an assistant hitting coach for your New York Yankees. Welcome back, Casey Dykes.
Appreciate you having me, man. Good to be back for round two. I've been hanging out here for a couple months, and we're about to get it cranked back up and head down to Tampa, dealing with a little bit of snow and ice, which is making us even more ready to get to Tampa and get out of this. But it's been good. It's been good. It's been good to be home and been good to get a little bit of downtime, but I'm starting to get that itch back. So we're going to be rolling here shortly.
That's what I'm talking about. Well, it's great to have you back, man. When you were here the first time, we're so proud of that episode. But it felt like when I went back and reviewed it, it felt like you and I were getting to know each other on camera. Since then, I've had the pleasure to spend some time with you and your family. You guys were kind and gracious enough to even hire Ethan to give the boys drum lessons.
Yeah, that was awesome. I think we were talking about this before the show. I've been my wake up call since Christmas has been the drums on multiple mornings from my 7-year-old. So we figured if he's going to play the drums, he might as well do it the right way. So we had Ethan come down and show him a little something. So I think there's going to be more of those in the future. At least I hope so. So he seems to like it.
Absolutely. Well, I know. I think he's going to put together some stuff for him to do on the road. And he's over here off camera. If you're watching with us today, but no, he's going to put together stuff for them to do on the road. So when they get back, they can pick up where they left off.
Yeah, I can't help them. My wife can't help them. We got we are the least musically inclined couple probably in Nashville, Tennessee. So we can't help them. So it's good to know people who can come over and give them a little something to work on.
That's right. Well, it was really cool getting to see him do that, watching him interact, and I know he had a great time. And he's a pro now. He got paid. He got paid, baby. Come on.
That's right. You can't beat that.
Well, all right. So you're about to, as we're sitting here today, you guys are getting ready to head down. I think you're going to make a stop at Disney on the way down to Tampa for the spring. Yeah.
Yeah, we are. This will be the first time. So we got the 3 little ones now. Youngest girl is 4. Middle child boy just turned 7. And then my oldest is 8. He'll be 9 here in a couple months. And they're not huge like Disney fans. We're not a huge Disney family. Disney for me is like Remember the Titans and radio and that type of Disney. So we spent a lot of time the last month since we decided to do this and kind of surprise them for Christmas. We spent a lot of time trying to show my daughter who all the Disney princesses are, trying to watch some of those old movies with the boys and get them excited. But they love rides. They love activities and being busy. So Disney will have plenty of that, and it'll be a good memory for us.
Well, fun fact, and I'm ashamed to admit this, we've taken Ethan to Universal Studios a handful of times. We took him on a Disney cruise, but I'm making a confession on camera. I, Nick Hyder, have never been to Disney World or Disneyland.
Really? Never.
Wow. Thanks, Mom. Thanks, Dad.
I did go. I did a Disney cruise as a kid, and I think I've done, like one day at a time, a couple different times for me when I was really young to maybe even playing down there at the Wide World of Sports and then going for one day when we had a break, something like that, maybe in high school. But I've never done it like this. We're doing all the different parks. I can try to tell you exactly what we're doing, but really my wife's been planning it all.
There you go.
So I'm excited just to get down there and see what it's really like and do the whole experience and really just watch the kids get after it.
Well, it's on our short list. So take notes. If go on ahead and make Nick out the playbook for what to do when we're down there, what to avoid, when to go, get the ride, express pass. Is there a secret one we need to know about?
We're trying to figure it all out, I think, and we've asked a lot of people, we've bugged a lot of people to try to figure out how to do it and do it the right way. So I'll make sure if I don't have the answers for you after, I'll make sure Cheney gets a hold of Rhiannon after Disney and gives her the lowdown.
That's right.
Because if you're anything like me, I just kind of tell me where to be, what to wear, how to do it, and I'll be there and I'll knock it out. So that's where we're at.
All right. So in the first episode, we talked about how you got to the Yankee clubhouse. We talked about your playing career. It was a little bit of your story getting there. And man, I got to be honest with you. After getting to know you, your wife, I learned later that she was a amazing athlete in her own right. Seeing the dynamic with the kids and I mean, they're freaking awesome, dude. So it's like, all right, we got a job to do today. We got to take it down or we got to go another level. We got to peel back the surface and get a little deeper today. Yeah. So, well, first things first, man. You're born and raised in Franklin, Tennessee. All right. Now, I played ball in the Northeast, not at all on the level that you're doing it at. However, it's different up there. Yeah. And I can tell you that one of my superpowers was my Southern roots. All right. Tell me a little bit how being raised in the South, how that has helped you in the Big Apple, in the biggest market, playing for the most decorated sports franchise in the history of sports.
Yeah, it's definitely helped me personally. I think the biggest difference for me going up to the Northeast, going to a city like New York, compared to growing up in this area is just the pace at which everyone lives at up there, and knowing how we move at a little slower pace down here in the South, I do think that that's helped me, because I think some of the hardest part, just like they talk about in baseball, the hardest thing to do sometimes is slow the game down. And I think that's one of my strengths, is to be able to slow things down, be able to understand and identify, what my roots are, what drives me, what my foundations are, and be able to stick to those, even when the chaos is going on around me. And I think a lot of times in New York, especially in that stadium and in that city, it can get moving fast and it can get loud and there's a lot of distractions. And just having a firm foundation of family and supporting cast around me that helped raise me and instilled the things that I live by and the things that drive me and motivate me, I think has helped me in times of chaos that inevitably you're going to face, just whether it's in a baseball season or over the course of a year when you're up there in a city like New York. It's allowed me to, stay true to my roots and kind of fall back on those foundations I have and help keep me, level when everything's going on around me. So it's been a help. It's been a help for sure.
It always felt like there was just a place where I could go in my mind of calm.
Yeah.
To like you said, slow things down.
Yeah, I think that calmness and that peace is honestly what allows me to do this job and to do it, at that level. Because I think just like players, coaches, like you get distracted and you start listening to, what people are saying on the outside, the noise, whether it's fans or whether it's the media or, social media and everything that comes across, you're always, just because of the level you're at, you're always getting opinions from people all the time. And, I learned very, very early in my career, not to take, not to listen to opinions of people you wouldn't take advice from.
Ooh.
And, that's something I've really tried to do, is when I do need advice or I need a real opinion, which a lot of times I do want the truth, I go to people I trust. And fortunately I've been around a lot of mentors and a lot of people in my life who aren't afraid to tell me the truth. And those people have, really helped me in those times, not to listen to the outside noise, but, if I do have questions or I'm wondering, am I right in this area or do I need a little correction? I can go to those people and they'll be honest with me, which has been super helpful in my journey.
That's awesome. Casey, I know that faith is something that's, it's present. You can feel it in your home. You can feel it when you're around you. It's something that's, it's what grounds you, right? So talk to me about how you're able to leverage and lean on that literally in a game that's built on failure.
Yeah, it's the only reason I am where I'm at today and have the family I have and am able to do what I'm able to do. I've spent a lot of my life without that faith grounding me, and I saw what that looked like. And then I've spent a lot of my life, especially this part of my life, with that foundation of having faith and having something to fall back to when the distractions arise, whatever it may be, and everybody deals with it in different ways. But for me, it's been something that's allowed me to it's allowed me to really build relationships and build real relationships with people outside of just it being maybe work or business or fluff. I mean, we're in a people business. I know it's baseball. I know it's professional. I know it's coaching. But at the end of the day, it's about people. And for me, the root of getting to know somebody is getting to know what drives them. And for me, like what drives me is my faith. And that's allowed me to, sustain the marriage that I'm in. It's allowed me to be a father. And it's allowed me to build some real relationships in this game. And kind of help younger players especially navigate, life's curves and things that it throws at them. I've had a lot of mentors in my life that have shown me, what it looks like to live a life that is a light to others. And I think in this life that we live, there's definitely dark times, and we're all going to go through those. And we've been called to be different and to stand out. And a lot of times that's uncomfortable. And I think that's been a challenge for me at different times, is to not necessarily always have to be cool and build a reputation of being the cool coach or the one that says what somebody wants to hear, but to be a coach that isn't afraid to share what their identity is. And for me, my identity isn't in wins and losses and success or failures. My identity is in being a child of God and serving Him and leading my family and leading the people that God puts in my life and trying to point them in His direction. And that's ultimately what I try to stay firm to.
As an athlete, I couldn't imagine trying to do it at the elite level that those guys do it without having, again, those guys have to have confidence or faith in themselves. Right. And, once you find your faith in Christ, it's like the greatest exercise. It's the greatest practice there is, that's literally, for me, once I figured that out, it was like a superpower. And there's always going to be those dark times when that doubt happens. Doubt can be loud, man.
Yeah,
it can be really loud and powerful. And that's when it's like, well, let me, if you're able to leverage and lean on that faith, almost unintentionally, without even thinking about it,
right,
you're able to work through the doubt and those tough times. It seems like a little quicker.
Yeah, and I think a lot of this, having kids has helped me understand this even more, because obviously our kids are young, and a lot of your trials and errors of being a leader, you find out really quick when you're trying to lead, children at home. And one thing I've learned is, if what you're teaching your children at home allows them to have confidence in public. And I think that applies to me as well. What I'm convicted in at home, and what I'm learning, and what I'm spending time in, and where I'm investing my time, shows up in like how I act and how I talk and how I react when I'm in public. And so it's a lot of that is, am I taking care of myself? Am I in the Word? Am I in prayer? Like, what does that look like? Because usually, if that's in a good spot, then when I'm in public and I'm around people that maybe I don't know as well, or I'm speaking to players, or I'm in an environment that's outside of my home or outside of my comfort zone, that stuff usually shows up. And when I'm not taking care of that, usually the way I react outside, isn't exactly how I want it to be.
That's right.
And I see both ways. Like I'm a mess just like everyone else, you know. But at the end of the day, I think just making sure that you're spending your time and investing your time in the right things at home. When you leave your home and now you're in the public eye and you're outside of that, I think you end up reacting to things and responding to things, the way you nurtured it inside your own home.
Hi, folks. I'm your man, Nick Hyder, and I just want to say a quick thank you for all of you, the millions of you tuning into the Hitstreak. We're literally getting the information from the people that have it to the people that need it by bringing on guests that everybody knows and some that not everybody knows yet. Keep listening, keep sharing, and keep leveling up with the Hitstreak.
So the spring schedule is going to be a little bit different this year because it's the one of the years for the World Baseball Classic, which I'm really excited about. But I mean, that's got to totally change, I guess, how things go. Like, how does it change the average team at the big league level?
Yeah, it depends obviously on how many guys you have participating. For us, we'll have a few guys participating and a few really important ones to our roster participating. So it'll definitely change the dynamic of spring. Those guys will get there a little bit earlier, just so they can get started and get built up because the WBC it's playoff World Series type atmosphere. These guys are going straight from the offseason into that. They don't have an 162 plus game build up before they're playing World Series type baseball. So we'll have those guys will start a little bit earlier. They've been gearing up a little bit more than a normal off season in preparation for that. We'll have some staff members that are out too that are coaching
I didn't think about that.
Yeah, for different countries. So guys will have different roles and more responsibilities, to kind of pick up for the other ones, which is fine. We've dealt with it before and. So we'll start spring training. We'll have everybody there for a couple weeks, and then those guys that are a part of the WBC will kind of take off and go do their thing, and we'll continue business as usual as far as spring training goes. In preparation for the season, there will be some younger guys maybe who get more opportunities during spring, which is really cool. That part's fun. Seeing some more prospects, getting some more at bats, and getting more playing time, which isn't a bad thing. More faces inside the clubhouse during spring training, just because you got to make up for the guys you're losing. But it'll be, spring training will be pretty normal for the most part outside of, missing those guys for that couple week stretch when they're gone. And it's a quick event, but it's high intensity. And I am glad that those guys get to start with us because I just love the first part of spring training, the build up into the games. That's probably my favorite part of spring training. And really just any part of the off season is the build up before we start playing spring training games. You're obviously, you're kind of setting the standards and you're building the culture and you're creating those relationships and that's really when a lot of the work is kind of building as you prepare to get ready to play games and get into the season. So I'm glad they'll be there for that. And then as we start games, they'll kind of bounce out and play in that event. And we'll all be watching, and then they'll come back to finish up with us before we take off for San Francisco.
Yeah, I forget. Is the whole entire thing's only a couple weeks long, I guess, right?
Yeah, it's only a couple weeks. It's I want to say it's roughly 3 weeks, to a month is the whole thing. So they're I'm not exactly sure on the whole structure of it, but it's a cool event, but it happens fast.
I love getting inside the head of elite people and how they think about and prepare and all that kind of stuff. And it's, man, just hearing you talk about it, you when they're more warming up their bodies in the spring, they're kind of warming up everything, the cognitive portion and everything. And I think it's great that we're taking so much pride and ownership in representing our country, playing in, doing that versus, 10 years ago, you thought about, man, guys get injured, there was risk involved, and so on and so forth. The guys that go, they do have to get everything dialed in quicker. Is it different mentally down the stretch for them? Like, have you, or is it better?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, different guys handle it different ways. I mean, these guys are, the best of the best, and you're basically adding, a little bit on the front end, but they do get to kind of come back from that and get a couple weeks to wind down kind of before the season starts. So I guess they're cranking it up probably a little faster, but you do worry, anytime about injuries and. Position players is one thing, but pitchers getting cranked up that early and having to throw with that kind of intent that early in the year is not comfortable. But you can't blame them. If anytime you have an opportunity to go represent your country on that stage and go play that level of baseball and create those kind of memories, you want guys to take advantage of it. And assuming that they're all healthy going into it. Obviously, you don't want anybody risking their own career or obviously the team success, but I don't feel like that's the case for the most part. These guys they're ready to handle it and they'll go handle it. They'll do a great job and they'll be ready to roll when we get into the season.
If you didn't love it, the final out of the last one, Shohei versus Trout,
yeah,
dude, like if that don't light you up, and
such a cool event.
This is all going down in like March, right? So like,
right.
It was almost like it was October baseball, November baseball,
right.
in March. It was such a cool thing, and that was for me. That was when I'm like, we need this.
Yes.
Like this is definitely a good thing.
It's a great event. I think the excitement that it brings to the game of baseball heading into the season is great. I know obviously a 162 game season can be long, for a lot of fans, and it seems like. As you kind of get to that September push to October is when, everything really starts to crank up just from the noise from the outside as everybody starts looking forward to playoff baseball. So getting fans and everyone in that mindset before you get in the season, I think is exciting and good for the game. And seeing the superstars, going and playing for their countries and competing against each other on that stage is special. And if you love competition and you love baseball, you have no choice but to love the event. I mean, it's awesome. Like I'll watch every game I can watch. I'm gonna be watching. We'll be locked in. My kids are already talking about it, and they were super young, but they remember the last one just because it's just a special event that comes every. I guess technically supposed to come every 4 years, but getting to see those guys compete on that stage is can't miss baseball. That's kind of what you live for, what you do it for.
Ethan and I have been coming down to Tampa in the spring. I think this is going to be our 4th year this year in a row to do that, 4th or 5th. Last year when we were down there, after the game was over, we come down for a few games, came down, hung out with you on the field for a minute. But the last day that we were there, it was the last day of spring training. It was the last spring game, and you guys were literally like packing up to head out to New York. And then we got home and looked at Instagram the next day, and Steinbrenner was the Rays' home field.
Right.
So first of all, that was just hearing you guys, your main guys. Let's say your main guys got pulled in the 5th or 6th inning. Were they packing up stuff in the clubhouse the rest of the game? Like, what's that day even look like, bro? Like, that's wild to me.
Yeah, the last few days of spring training. I said earlier the first part of spring training is my favorite. The last few days is probably my least favorite, just because of the chaos.
Yeah.
Like you're trying. I'll have my family down there, and they're trying to get back, and I'm trying to pack up my stuff, but you're still trying to coach those last few days, and you're trying to make sure everybody's healthy and has what they need, and you're trying to make sure this year we open up on the road, so you're trying to make sure you're going to have everything on the road that you need when we get to San Francisco, or you're trying to make sure everything's back in New York if we're opening up at home.
My gosh, I didn't even think about that. Yeah,
when you get up there, then you're setting up cages there and facilities there and lockers there. You're just trying to, you got a lot going on those last few days. You're trying to get cars and rental cars returned and check out of Airbnb or wherever you're staying in Tampa. It's definitely chaos the last few days. But at the same time, you kind of have that butterfly feeling going on because the real thing's about to crank up. And by that time, you're kind of over spring training. You're like, all right, let's play something that's good, that counts. Let's play some games that where the wins and losses start to count and start to matter, and the statistics start to matter, and you're ready for that at that time. But it's definitely the most chaotic part of spring training.
How many days does that last?
It's usually the last 3 or so days of spring training. I think you really start to feel that, because you're starting to pack up everything, and they're trying to move. A lot of the stuff we take to Tampa is coming straight from New York. So they're trying to get some of that stuff out, but you still have some work to do. So you're trying to hold on to certain things so you can do certain drills with certain guys, and it's definitely chaos, but it's a fun time of the year because the real show's about to start. And this year we'll open up in San Francisco, and
you get to go see Tony V in San Francisco.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. So that'll be cool. I know that place will be rocking. They got a great fan base, and there's some excitement there, with him and the product that they're going to put on the field, and we'll go from there to Seattle, which is another great fan base and a team that's coming off a really good year last year, and a lot of excitement. So we'll start there, and then it's fun because then you're going back to New York and you still have your home opener. So it's kind of like an extended. I kind of like starting on the road a little bit, just because you get, kind of the home opener there, and then you get to come, or their home opener, you get to be a part of that. So it's like opening day in baseball, but then you come back and you still get to enjoy your home opener too, and it kind of elongates that new fresh start feeling to the season. So I'm looking forward to it, and I'll be fortunate to have my family out in San Francisco and Seattle. Those are two stadiums they actually hadn't been to, so they're going to come out there and be able to enjoy opening day in San Francisco with me.
After spring's over, when you do open on the road like that, I mean, literally you're going as far away as you can go.
Right.
Is San Fran maybe the furthest point from the Bronx?
Yeah.
And then to Seattle. So do you guys get to go, do you even get to go, do you go to New York and put your stuff down and hop on a plane and then go? Or are you guys going straight from Tampa to out west?
We'll actually go straight from Tampa. And I want to say the day before opening day, we're making a pit stop in Arizona.
Okay.
And we're playing, we play the Cubs 2 days at their spring training complex.
Got it.
So we're actually going to go from Tampa. A group will go to Arizona. A group will still be back in Tampa. A group will go to San Francisco. We'll have guys moving around everywhere to go play those last couple spring training games in Arizona, and then we'll go straight to San Francisco from there. So
wow,
there will be, past years like we've done an exhibition game like in Washington. So we've played the Nationals in an exhibition game, and usually you roll the starters out for an at bat, and then they'll kind of go pack up, and you'll have some maybe some AAA guys or something like that finish out the game, and then they head to Scranton. So I don't know exactly how we're doing all that this year, but we'll have a lot of moving parts.
That is wild.
Training. So it's chaotic, but it's a blast. That's the type of stuff that makes it fun, and you're just it's the stuff that I think a lot of people don't see. It's kind of like you turn on, you see everybody showed up, but they have no idea what the past 48 hours looked like before they, walked out on the field and got announced for opening day. It's crazy.
And think about those guys that get there and they don't know where they're going to land on opening day.
Right.
Holy cow, dude.
And that can be tough. That can be tough for guys.
Yeah.
But fortunately, we have an incredible support staff. From travel secretaries and clubbies and people like that are a huge part of this operation, and are able to, kind of help the players and staff and everything get things where they need to go. And it wouldn't, those people don't get enough credit. They're incredible, and they're the ones that kind of make the ship run.
All right. So without throwing anybody under the bus, so the situation in Tampa. For the Rays, it was, again, I mentioned before, it was wild. It was Yankee stuff everywhere at Steinbrenner, the last spring training game, and then the next day on Instagram, everything says Rays on it, which the turnaround was just unbelievable. So when you guys go back, all right, you go to play the Rays, and so did anybody? After BP's over and it's time to go back to the clubhouse, who did any? You don't have to sell them out. Did anybody walk in the wrong direction, go to the wrong clubhouse?
Not that I noticed, but it was weird. It was weird being on the opposite side. But at the same time, it was a neat feeling being down there and seeing so many Yankees fans. You almost felt like it was a little bit of home away from home, just because there were so many Yankee fans there. We're used to playing on that field. I don't remember exactly what our record was there this year, but I know we had some pretty good days there. and some pretty good series down there. And it just felt good to play there. And as a hitting coach, the ball flew pretty well down
it did,
too, which was nice. So, I was looking forward to those series last year, and it was cool. Obviously you want to play, in the biggest stadiums, but baseball's unique, and that's what makes it such a beautiful game. Is you have situations like that come up, and you got people helping people, and orgs helping other orgs figure it out, and you go and you play, and you give the fans a show, and you go out and you compete, and you try to win a baseball game. And ultimately, once the first pitch is thrown, that's what it is. It's a baseball game, and you're out there to try to win.
All right, so Casey, as a fan of sneakers, especially Jordans, every time I've seen you, you've had a different pair of sneakers on. All right, and most of the time they're really good. As a matter of fact, I think I have 2 or 3 pairs that I saw you wearing them, and I was like, "Which ones are those?" And you text me, and I got them.
Yep.
So I gotta know, especially the guys that are they wear a different pair every game. You're going on a 10 or 12 day road trip. How many pairs of Air Jordans do you guys how many do you travel with? And then what about the players? Because they got turfs, they got cleats, and then all the other stuff.
Honestly, I'd be lying if I told you how many those guys travel with, because I feel like they travel light, but they come out with something new every day.
Yeah.
So I don't know where they keep them, or like where Judge and Jazz and all these guys are keeping all these Jordans hidden. But I feel like every single day, they bring out some for BP, and then they're wearing a different pair in the game, and they got the matching turfs with the matching cleats, and then the next day it's something different. I myself, I keep a pretty good rotation going, throughout the year. I'm not superstitious when it comes to, if we wear these, I got to wear them again because we won. I just kind of wear whatever's comfortable, and I spend a lot of time on my feet, in the cages and that. So a lot of time I lean towards the comfort ones, which I've really fallen in love with all the golf, like the golf low ones, and even the mids and the highs, just because I don't know if it's because they're made for golf. They're crazy comfortable.
I
kind of fell in love with those, and they got some good colorways in those. So those are kind of my gamers.
Yep.
But off the field,
I couldn't get them dirty. But they're always so clean.
Yeah. I try to, to give a shout out to the clubbies and the staff that, help them keep them clean and things like that, from game to game. But I travel probably, on a 3 to 6 day road trip. I'm taking probably 5 or 6 pairs that I'm going to rotate between BP and game. And then I'm taking another
BP versus game day.
And then I got probably another 5 or 6 pair that I'm wearing, to the field or off the field or whatever on that road trip. So I keep a pretty good rotation going, and I got the John Morant's on right now, representing a little bit of Memphis, Tennessee. So
that's right.
So I like to venture. I mean, mostly it's Jordans, but every now and then if I find a pair that's outside of that, I'll venture out and grab some. But I became a little bit of what they call a sneakerhead over the last few years, and just something, a little bit of a hobby of mine that I've dipped into.
Absolutely. Well, I'm going to throw this out there. If you ever, like, you guys are on the road a lot, surely, stuff gets left behind. If you ever just have a single J that you need to get rid of, with the studio, I love to have cool stuff behind me. I love all mine too much to put one back there and leave it. So, and so I don't have any singles laying around. So if you find a single Jordan that we could use as a prop, I'll take it.
Okay. All right. I'll keep your mind on that.
Are you ready to take your brand digital? At HitLab Creative, we don't just make content. We build your digital foundation from the ground up. So whether you're launching a podcast, creating scroll-stopping social media content, or building a website that actually converts, we connect all the dots. Visit hitlabstudio.com/studio-time and let's build something that lasts. Because the HitLab is where digital strategy meets data-driven content creation.
What is it? Is there like an unveiling of the boxes when they're opening them up? Do they even know which ones is which? Like, how does that work? Do they get 10 pairs at a time? Is it daily?
I think depending on some of those contracts those guys have and who their sponsors are. I mean, we have so many different guys. You have certain guys who are with Adidas or with Nike, or actually have the Jordan contract, or we had JC Escara, shout out Skechers. He signed with Skechers this past year, and started bringing out some different Skechers. You have all those guys who are signing different contracts with different companies, and I'm not exactly sure how it all works, but they definitely they take pride in it, and they do a good job of representing those companies really, really well, on the field. And and I think that's a huge part of it is performing with that Nike check on the foot that helps them.
Dude, well, all I know is anytime mine come in the mail, unboxing them is like it's literally like Christmas Day. I couldn't imagine knowing that it's one pair, one of one, made specifically for me. That's got to be incredible.
Yeah, I haven't been fortunate to open up a box that's made just for me. Usually, I'm seeing somebody wearing them, and then I'm on whatever app it is trying to find them.
When I was a player, especially a young player, the veterans, their locker was just cool. Yep. They had the coolest stuff in there. I can't even imagine in the New York Yankee locker room if Nick was going to get 5 minutes alone. All right, 5 minutes alone to go locker diving in anybody's locker. Who would you say probably has the coolest locker? All right, coolest locker, cleanest locker, messiest locker. I don't know. You may not be able to sell these guys out, but it's whose locker would you say, dude? If you only get 5 minutes, you got to go to this one or this one or this one. Who would you say you think?
I think messiest is probably the easiest because that's always the catchers.
Okay.
Because they got so much stuff, way too much, stuff to go in a locker. So they usually got multiple lockers and it's a mess, and they got all their gear and all that in there. So messiest definitely the catching group. The guys with the most service time are usually the most interesting ones because they just have, a bigger collection of things that they've, acquired over the years.
Yeah.
Even if you talk about like our coaching staff, like you want to talk about like office and locker, usually Booney's got a pretty sweet collection of stuff in his office and in his locker that he's keeping. I mean, the shoes are good.
He's got swag, baby.
The shoes are good. The memorabilia is good. A lot of the pictures, things like that. He's got some really cool stuff that he's got, even outside of baseball, football helmets and things like that of just guys who have came to Yankee Stadium over the years. And so he's got some cool stuff. And then, when you want to just talk about swag and you're talking about the Yankees, obviously, Jazz comes to mind. As a guy that's always going to have some creative stuff in his locker.
The chains are unbelievable.
Yeah, the chains are crazy. He's definitely probably got the flashiest ones. On the team. I thought Judge stepped it up with the gavel last year.
Dude, what did everybody say the first time y'all saw it?
Judge is pretty low key. It's a subtle swag that he's got to him, and I want to say for a while I didn't even notice it, because it was underneath the jersey or whatever, and then once it popped out a couple of times and I saw it, I'm like, what you got there? And, he should be proud of it. It's a sweet chain that he's got, and then you see some other guys with some really subtle, nice jewelry and chains like that, but. Jazz probably has to take the cake for the swag in our locker room. But I think one of the cool things you see too in clubhouses is you find out like what guys like to do and hobbies, like whether it's baseball cards or golf clubs, putters and things like that they just keep with them.
I bet.
And, so seeing some of that stuff, you can tell a lot about like what guys like. And we spend so much time in a clubhouse, you spend so much time in a locker room. You see guys that have cards or maybe a fold-out poker table, in front of their locker and things like that. That just you get to find out a little bit about those guys when you look in their locker and see what they got and see kind of what they value and how they like to spend their time. Pictures, whether it's family or things like that. A lot of different things. So you can tell a lot about a guy by just looking at their locker.
I gotta ask you because I know some other folks that have shaken the hand of a sitting United States president, but tell me, dude, how cool? Like seriously, what was that even like? You got to shake the president of the hand of the president of the United States.
Yeah, I've had a lot of people ask me just over the past 4 or 5 years, like, hey, what's some of the coolest moments? I've been fortunate to coach in a World Series and be around, the greatest right-handed hitter, in my opinion, to ever play the game. Played in some really cool games, big-time moments, historic moments, record-breaking moments. Been able to see those up close. The past Yankees players and greats, and even just MLB greats, whether it's at the All-Star game, coaching the All-Star game, and getting to meet King Griffey Jr., some things like that have been really cool. But being able to shake a sitting president's hand is right up there at the very top. And it just doesn't happen very often. And next thing you know, you're preparing to play a game in Yankee Stadium. I believe it was 9/11. And, you hear Trump's going to come to the game and be at the game. You're like, oh, that's awesome. And then you hear Trump's going to come in the clubhouse. So anybody who, wants to come in. So you're like, even better. Awesome.
They had to sweep it probably. They'd do a lot of security.
Oh, yeah, it was crazy. The couple days leading up to it. And so I'm like, oh, awesome. Like I'm going to go in and hear what he has to say and all that. And then next thing you know, he starts walking around shaking hands. And next thing, I'm sitting there and I'm like, I'm in this line right now. Like I'm going to get to shake his hand. Like how cool is that? And then, having a picture of it. So it's something that, years from now that, my kids and grandkids and great grandkids are going to be able to see, I think is something that's really special just because regardless, of who the president is, being able to do that is an honor. And I just think that was something that, you never really dream that you're going to be able to do, or be that close to, somebody with that title that is the leader of our country. And
that's a bucket list item for me.
What's that now?
It's a bucket list item for me.
Yes, it was super special and something I definitely don't take for granted at all.
Casey, especially when it comes to the Yankees for whatever reason, I know that, managing the game, coaching the game based around analytics versus in the old days when they weren't available, it was who had the best gut feeling, I guess, so to speak. At the end of the day, what works is what works. My question for you is, though, is we get so hung up in the mechanics of it all, how much you see the guys working on mechanics in the cages in the offseason. What you don't see is how they work on their approach. How much, and in my opinion, the approach is 70% or more of whatever that may be. How do you guys focus on, how much time do you spend on mechanics versus approach and vice versa throughout the year, or how do you know when it's time to work on the swing versus approach? I got a 16-year-old ball player sitting right across off camera over there today, right? And every time I look at him, he's thinking about his swing. How could he be working on approach?
We spend a lot of time on both of them.
Okay.
And definitely, I think they both help each other. Having a really good swing can help your approach, and having a really good approach can make up for maybe some flaws in your swing. And I think certain guys are really good at one or the other. Obviously, the best of the best are really good at both. Mechanically speaking, you see a lot of different swings in the big leagues, and these are the best of the best. And you see a lot of different swings. And I think it's a lot of people do things different ways, but foundationally, there are definitely things that the greats do. And understanding that and guys being able to find out how to do those things in their own way and make it work their own way, from different setups and different types of loads and things like that are essential to what make these guys great at what they do. So finding their individualism in it, but also like owning these foundations of the swing are super important. And then from an approach standpoint, there's a lot of individualism in that too. There's understanding what your strengths are and what your weaknesses are. And there's going to be a lot of days where you're going to have a battle versus a pitcher, and it's not going to line up with your strength. And you're going to have to make a decision, am I going to try to go outside of my strength and cover something that's a weakness and make an adjustment here? Or am I going to wait him out and hope that he makes a very rare mistake that he never really makes?
Wow.
And take my chances there. And you're playing that battle all the time based off of the type of matchup you're facing and who you are. And that's why I think as much of importance as it is of understanding the problem you're trying to solve that the pitcher's giving you, understanding who you are as a hitter and what you do well is just as important, because you have to be able to line those up and you have to be able to connect those dots ultimately to solve the problem, which is what we're all trying to do. And so I think there's both of those things, and we spend a ton of time, training both of those, working on both of those. Certain guys mentally seem to, fall in line with one or the other a little bit more. Some guys are super mechanical oriented, and some guys are super approach driven. So understanding that and trying to coach them to that, but also figuring out, is that what's best for them, or do they need a little bit more of this, even though that's not necessarily where their comfort lies? That's kind of the art and beauty of the coaching.
It's wild because, there's this saying out there called feel versus real. Mm-hmm. And I'll use 2 real life examples that were given to me that changed. I got the same result doing it the same way, but it was a different approach. It was a different feel. All right. So I'm gonna start off with there's a strength, a very well-known strength coach here in the Nashville area by the name of Matt Poe.
Okay.
And Matt was worked with us when we were in college playing baseball, and we were all trying to gain a step on certain times and certain things. And there was 2 things that he told me. They may have been even in the same day. One in the weight room, and one when we were out in the field running. And I'm trying to go, a new max on the bench press, and a new max on, I think a new best record on my 60 time. And Matt looked at me one day. He goes, "Nick, when you are running, like, what are you focused on?" I was like, "What do you mean?" He was like, "Are you running to the finish line, or are you running away from the starting line?" And I was like, "What do you mean?" I was like, "I think I'm running to the finish line." He was like, "All right, well, would you not be faster if like a bear or something was chasing you if you're running from something?" And I was like, "Maybe." He goes, "You want to find out?" Dude, I was. Right. By running away from something, I was faster than running to something. Same thing with the bench press. I was trying to push the weight off of me. He said, "No, push yourself away from the bench." Right. Just that one little
cue or thought, right?
Changed it. And literally, I was watching videos of my favorite player of all time, Don Mattingly, talk about at the ABCA. He was one of the keynote speakers, and he's talking about his approach. And he's, you got Teacher Man saying, "Take your hand this way." Mookie and the guys are saying your hands go back, and Don's saying, "I'm still taking the knob to the ball." When you put them on film, they all look the same. It's just, what did you tell yourself to get there type thing? And I think a lot of times we're so hung up in right versus wrong. I think that's where the approach kind of, like, another thing that I learned as a player is we always thought, when you rolled over, you were early. Well, once I got to the pro level, they were like, "You're actually late." And I'm like, "What do you mean?" I'm like, "Well, Nick, if you actually slow it down, because you're late, your body, like if a fighter gets too close to you, you create space, you back up." Right. And that's what they're saying. Like, "Nick, you actually backed off the ball, which made you roll over. Your body naturally created space because you started everything too late." And I was like, it's just the perception of it.
And I think kind of what you hit on right there is being able to diagnose video is so important, and understand what you're looking at when you watch video, and when you're comparing video to great hitters, and like you just said right there, like, oh, when you slow this down, you actually watch it, you see what maybe you're doing, because maybe you feel something or you think you're doing something, but when you go to the video, like, the video doesn't lie. And that's why I think, nowadays, I know when I was young, there was a lot of times, what they call it? Oh man, what's the, I forgot what it used to be said. Paralysis by analysis.
Yes.
Right. And it was almost like, don't watch video too much, because if you watch too much video, then you're not gonna learn anything about you. You're gonna waste your time. I actually think if you understand what to look for in the video, then the video can help you as much as anything. But if you don't understand what you're looking at, then it can be a problem. So I think that's what, a lot of guys, what a lot of the greats do is they understand when they look at video, like, they have the checkpoints, they know what they're looking at, and they understand it to a level that maybe other people don't understand it to. And that allows them to go look at video and make an adjustment really quickly off that. And then, as a baseball player, as an athlete, a lot of times you relate to, okay, I remember this video at this time and what I was thinking during that. And when I was thinking that, it got me in this position. And so you're starting to connect those dots, and then ultimately you're trying to repeat that. And it can be challenging. I know as hitters, a lot of times you spend time kind of chasing these thoughts and feels and ideas. And then that's kind of where the training comes in. And it's like, okay, well, when I do these drills, I have no choice but to be in these positions. And you're adding that into the mix, and that's how you're trying to create a routine. And then now the consistency starts to come, because what you're seeing in video and that feel that you remember, the training is giving you that same thing, and now you're applying it and you're doing that over and over and over again. And now it's getting reps, which everybody talks about reps. And it's like, it's not one or the other. It's all these things that fall in line that ultimately allow you to be consistent and be successful.
Are you ready to take your brand digital? At HitLab Creative, we don't just make content. We build your digital foundation from the ground up. So whether you're launching a podcast, creating scroll-stopping social media content, or building a website that actually converts, we connect all the dots. Visit hitlabstudio.com/studio-time and let's build something that lasts. Because the HitLab is where digital strategy meets data-driven content creation.
Let's talk first to, I'm going to say, the older generation and the fans that just don't understand. We're going to give them some clarity. When they see a hitter take a fastball right down the middle for strike three, they're like, what are you looking at? You know, I want to talk to them, and then I want to talk to the young and upcoming coaches, right? So let's start with, I'm going to call them, I'll say the old heads. Maybe I'm an old head, all right? We're going to say the old heads that come from a different generation of the game when pitches didn't have 26 inches of difference in side-to-side motion and 10 miles an hour of less velocity, which is an eternity in decision-making time. When you see a big league hitter take a fastball right down the middle for a punch-out strike three, and we're all like, what is he looking at? Shine a light on why a hitter has to approach the game the way they have to approach it now versus 15 years ago when everybody didn't throw 95 to 100 and have 26 to 30 inches of side-to-side movement variety in between pitches.
Yeah, the pitching obviously is as good as it's ever been.
It's crazy. It's crazy good. And the tunneling now,
it's different. I believe that, the velocity, the stuff, the way they're able to manipulate the baseball, the way they're able to adjust repertoires and things now, because of the data, because of, the coaching, and because these players now they understand, what makes them good, and what makes this pitch movement good and what makes this location good. And then they understand batters now probably better because the information they have on these batters. It's just like the preparation now is better. The game planning's better. So I think the chess match of hitters versus pitchers it's gotten much more intense, or not, I don't want to say more intense, but
strategic maybe?
Yeah, maybe more strategic than ever, where, I think a lot of times, kind of generic, like, I want to be on time for the fastball and adjust is still ultimately right. Like, it's not that's wrong. I still think that a lot of times that's what guys are doing. But I think just nowadays, because of the movement and because of the information, I think guys are having to be a little more selective, and take a little more chances than maybe they have in the past. And I know this from, talking to players who have played, in, multiple decades, over the past couple of years, guys that have had, 10, 12, 14-year careers in the big leagues. And they talk about how different it was early in their career till now, and the adjustments they've had to make and how they've had to evolve their approach and what they're looking for. And, obviously they're trying to match that up with their physical capabilities when they were 25 compared to when they're 35.
That's
and
right.
Then,
wow. I know that.
And they're facing, pitching now that maybe is a little bit different than it was then. I don't know if better's the right word, but different, I think would be a better word for it. So as you're talking to those guys and you're talking through their approach, there's nothing harder to do in sport than hit a baseball.
And everybody says that. Dion, everybody, right. Bo.
It's the hardest thing there is to do. And a lot of times it comes with like the cognitive and perceptual abilities of a player can be affected by so many different things. You know, you always face that, you know, that pitcher that he only throws, you know, 87 miles an hour, but it feels like 97, you know, but nobody can really explain it. He's doing something deception wise that's like, you know, that's throwing you off. And guys are constantly dealing with these problems that they're trying to solve, you know, in games versus certain matchups, not to mention, you know, with the crowd noise and the situation and everything else going on. So I think
they got going on
to
at
sit
home.
there, exactly what they have going on off the field.
Wow.
You know, to sit there and watch these games and to, you know, to watch a certain pitch and, you know, just be like, oh, like how does that happen? Or how does he do that? I think just really shows like how far fans are removed from what these guys have to deal with on a day-to-day basis. And it's hard to say that, but you know, it's the same thing for me. Like I don't do it for baseball because I have an understanding of what these guys have to go through. But I do it for football, you know? So like,
that's
I'm
right.
not going to sit there and, you know, and point fingers because I sit there and I watch them like, oh, how did he miss that throw? You know, whatever. But like, I don't know what's going on. I don't know what he's seeing with the defense. I don't know about the weather conditions. I don't know what's going on.
Right.
I mean, these guys are the best in the world at what they do. I think sometimes the best thing to do is just sit there and enjoy it.
That's right.
Enjoy the show that these guys are putting on because what they do on a day-to-day basis is incredible.
Before we move to the advice to the younger coaches, I do want to ask your opinion on last spring. They had you could appeal balls and strikes. You could challenge balls and strikes. I personally thought it was pretty cool because I'm so impressed at how right hitters are so often on balls versus strikes. It blows my mind that they're that aware of the strike zone. I mean, we're talking inches or fractions of inches, right. and they get it. How did you guys enjoy it? What was the experience like when you can appeal those things? Did you like it? Not like it?
I'm a fan of it as a hitting coach.
Yeah.
Because, and probably the root of why I'm a fan of it is because in the game of baseball, the most important thing is the strike zone.
Mm-hmm.
It is the most important thing, and the goal of any sporting event is just to get the call right.
That's right.
And I think the challenge system allows us to get more calls right than we were before. So I think it's a step in the right direction. Now, I also think umpires are just as incredible as, you know, you're talking about hitters being. I mean, these guys get knocked all the time for missing a couple calls. And it's incredible that they get the amount right that they do.
Well, they have 250 calls a game.
Right. And they're, you know, getting it right at, you know, 90+% clips all the time. And it's incredible how good they are.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, you know, now there's definitely part of me, I would say for, you know, a 36-year-old, I'm probably have a little more old school in me than a lot of 36-year-olds do. So I do understand like the history and, well, this would have never happened if they didn't miss this call and and I think that's real. And I understand that part of it. But at the same time, you know, the last thing you want is a game to be decided by anything but the players who are playing in the game.
That's right.
So when I think about it that way, it makes me excited. I think the ABS is a good move. I think doing it with the challenge system is a good way to kind of break it in. Who knows where it goes from there? I think it'll add a little bit of excitement to the games and seeing it. And they're going to do it in a way that doesn't stall the games. They've done a good job of not making these games last 4 or 5 hours in a regular season. It's not going to slow down the games a ton, I don't believe. So I think it'll be a good addition. I think it'll bring a new excitement. And at the end of the day, I think there's going to be a chance to, you know, let the players decide the game, which is ultimately the goal.
So let's talk to those young coaches for a minute. When I think about young baseball coaches, passion is the word that comes to mind versus, you know, some might feel it's insanity or crazy or whatever else. What advice? I mean, seriously, you have 2 young boys that are coming up playing the game. Your daughter's going to play something, right? Because she's all over the place. So tell me a little bit about what advice would you have for young coaches, both as a guy that's doing it at the highest level and also from the perspective as a dad that has kids on those teams?
Yeah, I think a lot of people passion, hardworking, a lot of those words usually come to mind when people think about what's it take to be successful in the coaching, industry or really in any industry, for that matter. But like the one word that I would say is loyalty. I think with loyalty, what loyalty means to me is that you do what you say you're going to do. You go where you say you're going to go. And you have a level of integrity and character to your name that matters. And so I just know that right now in the world we live in today, the distractions of social media and what do I need to do to build this reputation, that people perceive me as, like, that's what the reputation is. Like, it is something people perceive you, but it's not necessarily who you are.
Right.
And I think caring more about who you are other than what people perceive you as is a little bit lost in today's society.
Wow.
And I just know for me, like I'm super fortunate. I've been around a lot of the right people, and maybe it's, I don't know what it is, but I've been fortunate to get to where I'm at. I'm definitely there. I'm sure there's plenty of coaches out there that are better coaches than me, that deserve to be, where I'm at more than I do, so this is not me saying like, oh, I did this is why I'm here. But I think one thing that I've always tried to do is when I say I'm going to do something, I do it.
Boom.
If I say I'm going to call you at this time, like I'm going to call you at this time. Not to say that I've done it 100% of the time throughout my life, but I know when I was young, getting into the coaching profession, if there was a coach that I had a chance to learn from, or a place that I had a chance to go to get a little piece of knowledge, that I would do everything it took to go do it, and I would be like chomping at the bit to get it. And I think by doing that, it allowed people to view me as, trustworthy.
Yeah.
And I think that showed who I was and how much I cared, and just a level of expectation and standard that I held myself to. And when you do that, I think people are drawn to you and they want you to be a part of, what they're building.
Wow.
And ultimately that's how you get jobs, and that's how you get to where you want to go, is you have people that want you to be a part of what they're building. And that foundation of it, I think is so important. So to young coaches out there, I think loyalty would be the word that I would use to describe as the most important foundation of what you're trying to build as or what you're trying to build as a young coach.
Getting to know you and your family, I've heard it multiple times how, you guys get to be together a lot. Your family travels with you to Tampa for spring. They're going out west with you to San Fran and all that kind of stuff. However, your kids have their own competitive schedule that's played here in Nashville while you're on the road. Talk to me about the challenges and the dynamics of you guys having to manage that. I just know, as cool as it is to do what you do for the whole entire family, everything comes at a cost.
Yeah.
How do you guys manage that cost? And the second part of that question is like, and for how long is that something, or do you even know, is it just year to year?
Yeah, I don't necessarily know. I know that, the priority in my life is definitely my family. So the moment that, a job or something gets in the way of us being able to do what we need to do as a family, then I'll gladly move on from that and move in a different direction to make sure the family's in a good spot. We've gotten better at it over the last few years. It seems like every year, like we get a little bit better of like learning how to manage it. Okay. Even just as simple as taking them down to spring training and having them be there the whole time. Yeah. Moving into hybrid homeschooling. Doing things like that have allowed, the family to be involved. Just made me think of this quote I read the other day, which I think hits home for me. Tell me and I may remember, show me and I may forget, involve me and I'll understand.
Oh, wow.
And I think the more involved that my family has gotten into this profession and to my job and to seeing what Dad does, the more they've started to understand.
Okay.
And I think even obviously my job, but even, the other day we're we had all the snow, right?
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm on a tangent right now. I'm gonna kind of get off the tracks a little bit, but we're at home and we're shoveling snow the day after we get 4 inches. And, I'm out there and, the boy, we had played in it. We'd been sledding with all that. The boys were inside, they're chilling. And, I'm like, hey guys, I'm going to go out and shovel the driveway. And so I come back in and, they didn't care. They're just like, all right, Dad, see ya, so I leave, I go shovel the driveway. I come back, a couple hours later and I'm kind of like, I feel like that's something they should understand of why you do,
That's right.
like why you do that at home. So the next day, we had all the ice and I'm like, this is going to be miserable. I'm like, do I really ask them? But I'm like, hey guys, I'm going to go out and do the driveway. Y'all come with me. So they come outside and we start, shoveling the driveway and trying to get this ice off. And, then they start asking questions, why are we getting this off right now? And then you get to have these conversations and, all of a sudden, like I leave that session and I'm like, that was way more productive than me just going and doing it myself and hoping that they see Dad doing it, which there is something to that, right? Like there's something to being an example.
Yeah.
I've always kind of lived by, example isn't the main thing. It's the only thing.
Okay.
And showing them that example obviously is powerful, but involving them, especially as they're getting older and more capable and they're starting to ask questions and starting to learn, the more that they've gotten involved in things, I feel like the more they've started to understand. And just seeing it and hearing it is like, oh man, they may pick up on it. But just like anything in life, if you don't truly understand the root of it, you'll never be convicted in it. You'll never actually follow through with it. So that was just something that came to mind when you're bringing up how we've tried to make this thing work. But the more involved they've gotten, the better. Where at first I was kind of like, all right, like Dad's going to work, let me go work and work super hard and show you guys how you're supposed to work and grind and all this. And it's like, no, y'all come with me.
That's it.
And come watch this and come see it and be around. And the more we've done that, it's brought us closer as a family. And I've felt like a lot more of a sense of purpose and passion in this outside of just the baseball side. Being able to use this as, kind of a platform for fatherhood and for our family. And that's been really good. So it's hard, but each year that's gone by, I feel like we've gotten better and better at managing it.
Hey, pardon this quick interruption, but it's a good one. You're listening to this ad right now, which means someone else could be listening to your ad in this exact spot. Go to nickhyder.com/contact-me or click the link in the show notes to get started. Let's put your brand in the spotlight right where it belongs.
I catch myself, even when I go through seasons of, like I remember in December, I told Rhiannon, I was like, I'll catch y'all in February, because I knew January we had a lot to accomplish. We had a lot to do in a short amount of time. And it's funny because snow or no snow, looking back at the month so far, I've spent maybe more time with them than normal with less time available. And what I found is like I was more intentional with the time because I had to create some structure to like what was important, and I'm not going to give up that time. Whether it be just like last night, we were just playing. My daughter loves board games and stuff, so we just played a game of Trouble that took 20 minutes. She wins every time. Like what the hell? I'm like I can't even win in my own home, but it's the intentionality of it was versus when I had all the time in the world and I spent less time, and that was when I usually caught myself. Did I just really sit here and just scroll on my phone for 20 minutes while she's hanging out right there and just ignore her? Or same thing for Ethan when we're doing those things. So the intentionality of it actually, looking back, sometimes it can be a gift. You can actually get more out of it because it's like this time has a specific purpose.
No doubt. I started so last year I started. It actually started with a friend of ours, Tyler. I saw Tyler Gaffney doing his shout out Tyler.
Dude, he's the best.
The man. He's awesome. So he was doing this, 100 days, 5 miles a day.
Did he finish? I was keeping up with that for a minute.
Yeah, he did. And I had seen he was like 30 days in or something. I'm in the middle of last season and I'm kind of like, I need a new challenge. I've always kind of been into like, this diet or whatever, try this, not necessarily because it's a fad, but more so for like the self-discipline part of it. Can I do this, or prove to myself I can do this type thing? So I was like, all right, I'm going to try to do this. So 100 days, in a time in the middle of the season where you feel like you have no time, where you're just at the field all day and you're grinding all day and then you're sleeping and then, you're back at it and doing it. It's like I go through 100 days and I got through that and I'm like, all right, I'm going to do something else, So I've actually been on this like kind of challenge kick, of 100 days in a row. And it hasn't been that I want to do this reading challenge or fitness challenge because I want to get necessarily better at reading or more in shape or lose weight or anything like that. It's just, can I make it a priority and can I be disciplined enough to do this, during this stretch? And while doing that, I think what it's done is it's made me look at things in my life that fill time and get rid of them.
Yeah.
And there's plenty of time. Sometimes I just fill it with things that I want to do, a lot of my wants, and instead of making time for the things that I need to take care of.
Right.
There's obviously, and I think a lot of that, it can be anything in your life, like whether that's, scrolling on your phone, or sometimes it's even sleep, whether it's, wanting to, eat these comfort foods or whatever, but knowing that like, that's not what I need, and just being able to say, no, I'm good right now, and move on and make time and do the things that I need to do, to be productive and make those a priority in my life. So I've kind of been on this, kind of challenge kick lately of just trying to create better habits. Cause a lot of times I don't think it's necessarily about it's not about the content of the habits. It's just the discipline of doing the habits repeatedly over and over again, and like setting that example for the people around you, and even proving it to yourself.
Absolutely. Well, I got to say, one of the things that I felt by being around you guys is a lot of times when there's somebody in your position, the family revolves around you and your job and that. And like Cheney's such a freaking rock star, dude. Like, man, she just it's not them chasing you around. It's just you guys' life. It's the whole family's identity. It's not just yours, and they're a part of it. And you can feel that. And I don't really know if there's a secret sauce or how to even explain how that happens. But dude, as a guy, as a husband and a father like you, that's something that I see and I notice, and I'm like, man, I hope that mine's like that, and I hope that and if it's not, I hope I can create that, because I see that and I'm like, that's what it's supposed to be like.
Well, I've definitely noticed that with you as well, with you and Ethan, as much as you bring Ethan around, and seeing all the content and stuff that I know is definitely part of your work, but seeing how Rhiannon's involved with it and how y'all can work together and seeing out the family, I think that's what it's about, because there's a lot of successful people in this life that I think they, at the end, when it's all said and done, like they're going to have a lot of material things and they're going to be well rested, and, they're going to feel great. I heard Tebow talking about this a while back. I was listening to a podcast or something. He's like, when it's all said and done, like, I don't want to be rested. I want to be exhausted.
That's right.
And I think that hit home. It's like, I'm exhausted because I make time for the things that matter in my life. And like, I don't just rest because, my work day's done and it's like, I need my rest so I can go work again. It's like in between those times, like, yes, do I need to work to take care of my family as a father, as a husband, as a man? Yeah, like definitely called to do that. But that doesn't mean that I'm called to do that above being a father and being a mentor and being a husband. And I by no means am perfect in this aspect. Like, it is a constant work of progress in my life. And honestly, I think number one priority for anybody who's trying to be successful is make sure you marry the right woman.
Come on.
That's one thing I did do right in life is I married the right woman, and she has been incredible and like keeping these guardrails on me and keeping me in line. And just continuing to push me and motivate me in different ways and challenge me. And, not afraid to, be honest with me and call me out when I'm slipping. And, and then at the same time, just, be the anchor of our house, with the kids at home and making sure that they understand, even though, yes, I am gone a lot because that's the line of work that I'm in right now. But understand that like dad's doing this because
that's right,
and continuing to preach that message to our kids, instead of, spreading a different message. I think that could be spread when you're out working and trying to help. She's incredible. She's, it's so funny, man. I come home during the off season and, or even when they're traveling with me and, we're doing stuff with the kids all day and, maybe mom's not around or and like as soon as mom shows up, it's like a magnet. They're just like on top of her and, whatever. And I laugh at it. And I know at times she's just like, give me some space. Yeah. But the other day she was like, I don't ever want them to give me space because I know there's going to be a time down the road where they just naturally give me space and they're living their own life. She's like, I got to just soak it up and let them, get on top of me and climb on me and hang on me like monkeys, as much as they want right now. Cause one day they're not going to do it. I'm going to miss these times. I'm like, you're right. So, she's a rock star and she's literally the only reason we're able to do this. And
no doubt
it's been a blessing for sure.
So Casey, as you're sitting here today, the last time that I had you in the studio, you had a big, beautiful beard and we were talking about you having to shave it before you headed out for spring training. And then all of a sudden, the facial hair policy was lifted. Was there like a text thread where everybody was celebrating? Like what was that like? I mean, seriously, this was a big deal, groundbreaking. And I ain't gonna lie, I didn't hate it. I didn't hate it at all. I thought it was kind of neat. I noticed you're clean shaven now. Is it back in effect?
No, not back in effect. Not back in effect. I took advantage of it last year for sure. I had the beard going pretty much all year. I think, it's usually been the opposite where I've been clean shaven all year. And then in the off season, I had the beard. I think just because I had it all year, this off season, I've really had no desire to have one. So I've just been shaving all off season. Yeah. So we'll see what happens when we get cranked up again. If I grow it back out, but honestly, the reaction inside the clubhouse was pretty mild. There wasn't, I feel like the noise and like most things with the New York Yankees, the noise outside and is usually much louder than it is inside the clubhouse. So it was pretty mild inside and, there were some guys who took advantage of it. There were some guys who didn't. It doesn't bother me. It didn't bother me having it. But I don't think it's a bad change. I'm pretty neutral on it. I do think there's some people that for whatever reason may need to have a certain beard or hair length or whatever. And I think them having it, as long as, it stays within whatever guidelines we have set. And, at the end of the day, the individuality is a fine thing. It's a good thing for guys to do that. But also, it's good to have some of that tradition too, especially, with an organization like the Yankees. So I was pretty neutral on it. But I'm sure, as the years go by and it gets further away, I wouldn't be surprised to see if, some people start taking advantage of it more and more down the road. So we'll see.
Well, it was. I mean, it was wild, man. Seeing guys with beards for the first time in pinstripes. But it's saying, for me as a fan, I feel like it's an honor and a pleasure to put on those cherished pinstripes. And I'm not saying anything ugly about anybody that doesn't have a place they can call home. But if your beard looks homeless, it's probably not. It's probably bringing the uniform down a little bit, bringing the standard down. Was there? So when they lifted it, was it like what was the specifics of it? Was like it had to be kind of just polished, clean, like edged up. What was it like?
I'm not sure. I don't remember what the exact wording is
because nobody had the Jason Turner.
Yeah, I think it's just one of those. There's just a standard, right? Yeah. Like there's a standard, just like you alluded to. Like there's a standard with being a part of the New York Yankees and wearing the pinstripes that I think people just understand. You know, like they understand when they come in the clubhouse. They understand when they're acquired by the New York Yankees that like you're going to do things a certain way, and you're representing way more than yourself. And that's where I think that there's just a kind of a respect to maybe a vague rule that's still in place. But I think just naturally people have a respect for it and are gonna hold true to that. So I couldn't even tell you the wording of what the actual rule is now. But I just know that there's a certain respect that each person has when they come into the clubhouse that I can't imagine anybody getting too far off the rails. And I think there are people in that clubhouse that if it was getting too far off the rails would have a word with them and get back on track. So,
all right, final question. And it's about the house. It's about the house, the stadium, fabulous Yankee Stadium. All right. I was fortunate enough to get to attend a game at the old one, and I've been to the new one. It's an environment like no other. So we're going to be coming back again, but we're coming down to Steinbrenner to see you guys this spring. We're going to be coming. We're actually entertaining coming to when you guys are in Chicago at the Cubs.
Okay.
In late July, early August. But we've got on the
Wrigley Suite.
Oh man, Wrigley Suite. Absolutely. And that'll be exciting. And then we're definitely looking at eyeballing getting up to New York to catch another home series this coming up season. What is something like if you go to Disney, there's all these little secret little things, secret pockets, secret mouse ears, or whatever else. Is there anything that maybe the average person wouldn't know about the stadium? Is there any relics from the old one that's brought over that maybe want to go touch? I don't know. It's such a fascinating place. I think it's the most money ever spent on a stadium, at least based on today's standards and time. It was built a long time ago, but because it's not even new anymore. When you think about it, it's like 15 years old or something like that. It's wild. 16, 17 years old. Is there anything that sticks out that I don't know, the average person wouldn't know about it?
I don't necessarily know if there's anything that the average person wouldn't know about it, but I do think, if you are a true Yankees fan and you want the Yankees experience, I think Monument Park, visiting that obviously is sweet. But one thing that I think would be really cool is to watch a game with the bleacher creatures. And that's an experience within itself. Is to sit out there, to sit in the outfield, to listen to the roll call. To be out there while they do it. You got Judge's chamber out there. You got the picture of the boss George Steinbrenner out there, and it's just kind of. I know for me, when the first pitch is thrown, usually each game, and they're going through roll call. It never gets old. And looking out there and seeing kind of the boss and hearing roll call and Monument Park on the left and Judge's chamber, and that view for me is what I think of when I think of Yankee Stadium.
Wow.
So I think sitting out there for a game would be really neat. So maybe y'all need to try that.
Dude.
Back from New York.
Absolutely.
And then, probably the thing that opposing players always talk about, I know that I believe is true. And then obviously fans too, the food at Yankee Stadium is unbelievable. The food that we get obviously on the home side is great. I know they have all kinds of different stuff that goes. The 99 burger, I think it was this past year they had.
He had it.
But even opposing players when they come in, they're just like, there's no meals like you get, until you come to Yankee Stadium.
That's what I'm talking about.
The food in Yankee Stadium, our chefs are the best. They do an incredible job, and so the food is great, and then obviously that layout out there of those few things in the outfield, I think are really special and unique to Yankee Stadium that I think are worth experiencing for sure.
Finding the right health plan can feel overwhelming, but it doesn't have to be. Backed by over 12 years of experience and more than 20 national and local awards, Team Hyder is here to help you navigate your options and choose a plan that fits your family's needs and your budget. Visit teamhyder.com today to schedule your consultation and get the coverage that you deserve.
Well, Casey, I know I got to get you off to the next thing, man. It's as always, it's an honor and a pleasure to have you. Thanks for hanging out with old Nick today.
Loved it, man. Love what you're doing. The studio's sick. The upgrades are awesome. It's changed a lot since I was here. I guess it was last winter. But what you and your family are doing in the city of Nashville and all different areas.
Yeah.
Obviously, I'm partial to the baseball, but I know you're doing way more than that. So just appreciate what you guys are doing.
My man. Well, dude, thanks again so much for hanging today. I don't want to, no pun intended. Maybe there is a pun intended. We knocked this one out of the park, dog.
No doubt. Appreciate you always.
Folks, keep up with Casey on social media at Casey Dykes 1. Folks, thanks so much for tuning in to another episode of the Hit Streak. I am your man, Nick Hyder. God bless.